What's up guys? In this video, we're gonna be going over how to hold a javelin and the different grips that you can choose from.
That's what we're talking about! Let's go!
Whether you're a beginner just starting off or a little bit more intermediate or advanced, make sure to go to our website and check out our free javelin course. That's gonna help you answer all your questions from physical preparation and nutrition to javelin technique. The first and most basic grip for beginners is the fork grip. The pros of the fork grip is that it is the easiest grip to supinate your wrist in the back. So this is really helpful for beginners because what happens is a lot of times beginners don't have the best chest and shoulder and lat mobility. So keeping your wrist up to the sky when you throw is gonna be really essential, because what you don't want is you don't wanna throw the javelin with your wrist like this, because then when you throw and your wrist is dipped to the side, you're gonna throw out around to the side like this. Keeping your wrist up in the back allows you to throw over the top, which protects your throwing arm and also helps you get it down the middle of the sector and fly nice and smooth. The con with the fork grip, you get the least amount of rotation. With the javelin, it's essential that the javelin spins, okay? We want the most RPMs as possible to get it to spin and cut through the air in a dynamic fashion that allows it to go through the point, go up and come down and just cut through the wind. With the fork grip, because it's not as much of a rotational grip, because you're putting one finger on this side, one finger on the other side, it's going to be more of a push and sort of a catapult rather than spiraling the javelin like a football. With that being said, with this grip, there's a slight possibility that you will creep your arm in a little bit earlier than with the other grips, because with it being here, there's a higher chance that you're gonna dip your wrist back and that your arm is gonna be bent at the point of the block. So what that looks like is we wanna keep our arm nice and long, so when we hit the block here, our arm is all the way back. That's how we're gonna get the strongest pull on the javelin. What happens with fork grip sometimes is because of the way that the wrist can dip back, the arm will also come forward as well. So then you'll hit the block and be here rather than here. The fork grip is really good for beginners who have never thrown a javelin before and really struggle with that rotational release. And also for people who have never had experience throwing a football in the past. That final release is very similar to throwing a football. If you're using the other grips, that rotational release of swiping here and then pronating at the finish will come natural to you if you're used to throwing a football. But if you're used to throwing a baseball or you've never had really experience throwing before, the fork grip is probably gonna feel the most natural for you in year 1 or 2 of throwing the javelin. The second grip that we're gonna be going over is the American grip. The American grip definitely helps you put a little bit more spin on it, but the only problem is that if you do not have good shoulder mobility, it's hard to keep your wrist up in the back, okay? Because your hand is slightly a little bit more forward on the center of mass of the javelin, which means that you have the potential of pulling down on the handle a little bit more with American grip, which tends to lead to a lot of elbow issues. The thing that's positive about this is that if you do have good shoulder mobility and you're able to spin the javelin and throw through the point well, this will help you a little bit more than fork grip will, just because of its nature of allowing more RPMs on the javelin. And last but not least, my personal favorite and undoubtedly the best grip for professional and elite level javelin throwers, realistically, if you're above 55, 60 meters in that range, you should be using the Finnish Grip. This one, your grip is gonna be essentially the same as American Grip, but you're just moving one step further back. So what that's gonna do is you're gonna have 3 fingers on the actual grip of the javelin instead of 4. And then your pointer finger is gonna be at the top and it's gonna be wrapped around to the side. Some people will keep it straight like this, but to me, I wanna keep it wrapped so that I get more of that rotational aspect of the throw, right? Because we talked about the RPMs are essential, throwing through the point is essential, keeping your wrist up in the back is essential, and all that stuff is very easy to do with Finnish Grip once you have the proper mobility and feel for the javelin. That's the only thing, is that since you're using 3 fingers instead of 4, and with the fork grip, you're using your fingers to really get the javelin snug in there. With the Finnish Grip, you have a little bit less feeling with your hands on the actual javelin. But once you are throwing the javelin for years and you start to develop that feeling and that rotation and that supination and that separation, all becomes very natural for you. The Finnish Grip is by far the best. Yeah, and overall, it just might take a little while to get used to. I've had throwers in the past that, you know, right now they're using Finnish Grip and they're throwing over 80 meters. But when they first started throwing Finnish Grip, their finger right here, because they weren't used to it, this finger would hurt all the time and they would get like a throbbing pain on the inside because you're putting a lot of spin and rotation on that middle finger instead of your pointer finger. Overall, it might just take a little bit of time to get used to. That being said, when they made the switch, sophomore year was a little rocky, junior year was better, senior year throwing over 80 meters and life is good. So it just takes a little bit of time to get used to, but like I said, in the long run, it's an investment worthwhile making. Just be sure that you're not neglecting your shoulder, your chest, and your lat mobility, because if you're trying to use Finnish Grip, even American Grip, or really any grip in general, if you're trying to throw the javelin in general and you have poor shoulder and chest mobility and your wrist is dipped down to the side, like I said earlier, that's gonna cause you a lot of elbow pain and it's gonna cause the flight of the javelin to tank off to the side. All right, that's it. I hope you learned something today and I hope this helps you pick which grip works best for you. Try them out, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. See you guys next time.